You know that feeling when your mind will not shut off? When you are lying in bed at 3 in the morning and your brain is replaying every conversation from the last week, every mistake you made, everything you should have said differently. You try to stop thinking, but that just makes it worse. The more you fight to clear your mind, the louder it gets. What if I told you there is a Japanese method that approaches this problem in the exact opposite way? A system used by monks and samurai for centuries that does not fight overthinking at all. It transforms it. But first, let me tell you a story. The swordsman who could not sleep. In 16th century Japan, there lived a young samurai named Takeda, who was known throughout his province for his skill with the blade. He could strike faster than any warrior in his clan. He could read an opponent's movements before they happened. But Takeda had a secret weakness that tormented him in private. His mind never stopped racing. After every battle, he would replay each strike in his head. What if he had moved differently? What if his opponent had been stronger? What if next time he was not fast enough? The questions consumed him. He stopped sleeping more than 2 or 3 hours a night. His hands began to shake during the day. His teacher noticed that Takeda's sword work, once fluid and natural, had become tense and hesitant. One evening, his teacher sent him to a Zen monastery in the mountains. Takeda arrived exhausted and angry. He told the head monk about his problem. The racing thoughts, the endless analyzing. The monk listened without speaking. Then he said something that confused Takeda completely. He said, "Do not try to stop the thoughts. Instead, sit with them. Watch them like you would watch leaves floating down a stream." The monk taught Takeda a practice called zazen, seated meditation. But this was not about emptying the mind. It was about observing the mind. Every morning before dawn, Takeda sat in the meditation hall. Thoughts came like a flood. Memories of battle, worries about the future, judgments about himself. The monk had told him not to push them away, just notice them, name them, thought about the past, thought about fear, thought about failure. For weeks, nothing seemed to change. But slowly something shifted. Takeda began to notice that thoughts were just thoughts. They came and they went. They had no power unless he grabbed onto them and made them real. After 3 months, Takeda returned to his clan. His teacher watched him spar and saw immediately that something had transformed. Takeda's movements were effortless again. His mind was quiet not because he had killed the thoughts, but because he had learned to let them pass. This story reveals a truth about human nature that most of us never learn. The Western trap. We all fall into. We have been taught that a calm mind means no thoughts, that mental peace requires us to fight against overthinking, to suppress it, to control it, to win the battle against our own minds. But what if that battle is the problem? What if the very act of fighting your thoughts is what gives them power? The Japanese discovered something centuries ago that modern neuroscience is only now validating. The practice is called Shikan. It means stop and see. Not stop thinking, stop and see what is actually happening in your mind without judgment. In the West, we call this metacognition or mindful awareness. It is the ability to observe your thoughts instead of being swept away by them. Here is how it works. The 4 principles of Shikan. The first principle is called Kanso. It means simplicity or elimination of clutter. But this is not about decluttering your house. It is about recognizing that most of the chaos in your mind is not real problems. It is your brain creating stories about problems. Neuroscience tells us that the human brain generates between 60,000 and 80,000 thoughts per day. Most of them are repetitive. Most of them are not useful. Kanso teaches you to stop treating every thought like an emergency that needs solving. Think of your mind like a snow globe. When you shake it, everything swirls in chaos. But if you just set it down and wait, the snow settles on its own. You do not need to reach in and grab each flake. You just need to stop shaking the globe. That is Kanso. Stop adding energy to the chaos. The second principle is called Fukinsei. It means asymmetry, or the beauty of imperfection. In Japanese aesthetics, perfect symmetry is considered lifeless, a crooked branch, a cracked bowl. These imperfections are valued because they reflect reality. Your mind will never be perfectly calm. There will always be thoughts. There will always be some level of noise. Fukinsei teaches you to stop demanding perfection from your mental state. The goal is not a silent mind. The goal is a mind you can be at peace with, even when it is noisy. Modern psychology calls this psychological flexibility. It is the ability to experience difficult thoughts and feelings without needing them to change. Research shows that people who practice acceptance of their mental experience have significantly lower rates of anxiety and depression than people who fight their thoughts. The third principle is called Seijaku. It means tranquility in the midst of activity. This is the core of what Takeda learned. Seijaku does not mean you escape to a quiet place and shut out the world. It means you find stillness even when your environment is chaotic, even when your mind is producing thoughts, even when life is demanding and loud. Here is the key insight. Calmness is not the absence of thoughts. Calmness is the absence of resistance to thoughts. When you stop fighting what is happening in your mind, the struggle ends. And when the struggle ends, peace is what remains. Think of it like this. If you are swimming in the ocean and a wave comes, you have two choices. You can fight against the wave and exhaust yourself, or you can dive under it and let it pass over you. Seijaku is diving under the wave. The fourth principle is called Shizen. It means naturalness. Everything in nature moves in cycles, day and night, seasons, tides. Your mind is no different. There will be times when your thoughts are quiet. There will be times when they are loud. Shizen teaches you to stop seeing the loud times as a failure. They are just part of the cycle. When you trust the cycle, you stop panicking when your mind gets noisy. You know it will pass. It always does. To see this in action, consider this story. The teacher who stopped fighting. In modern Tokyo, there was a high school teacher named Hana who struggled with anxiety her entire adult life. She would wake up every morning with a knot in her chest. Her mind would flood with worries before her feet even hit the floor. Did I prepare enough for today's lesson? What if the students do not understand? What if the principal observes my class and thinks I am incompetent? She tried everything: therapy, medication, breathing exercises, journaling. Some things helped a little, but the overthinking always came back. One summer, Hana attended a weekend workshop on Zen practices. The instructor taught a simple exercise. Every time a worried thought appeared, Hana was supposed to say silently to herself, thinking, "Not I am thinking, just thinking." The idea was to label the experience without identifying with it. At first, Hana thought this was too simple to work, but she tried it anyway. The next Monday, she woke up with the familiar knot in her chest. The flood of worries began. But this time, instead of trying to make them stop, she simply noted them, worrying about the lesson, thinking about the principle, imagining failure. She did this throughout the day. Every time her mind spiraled, she paused and labeled it, thinking, worrying, imagining. Something strange happened. The thoughts did not disappear, but they lost their grip. She noticed that the thoughts came in waves. They peaked, and then they faded. She noticed that she could have a worried thought and still prepare her lesson. She could imagine failure and still teach effectively. The thoughts and her actions were not the same thing. After 3 weeks of this practice, Hana realized the knot in her chest had loosened. Not because the thoughts stopped, but because she stopped believing she had to fix them. She stopped treating her mind like a problem that needed solving. 6 months later, Hana still has anxious thoughts, but they do not control her anymore. She watches them the way Takeda watched his thoughts in the meditation hall. They come, they go, she remains. This is not just one person's experience. It is a principle anyone can apply. The deeper truth about overthinking here is what most people do not understand. Overthinking is not the problem. The problem is what you do when overthinking shows up. You panic. You judge yourself. You think something is wrong with you. You try to force your mind to be different than it is. That is where the suffering comes from. Not from the thoughts themselves, but from the war you wage against them. The Japanese approach says you do not need to destroy the overthinking. You need to change your relationship with it. You need to see it for what it is. Mental weather. Clouds passing through the sky of your awareness. You are not the clouds. You are the sky. I know what you might be thinking, but my thoughts are not harmless clouds. They are real problems, real fears, real mistakes I need to fix. And I hear you. Some thoughts do point to real issues that need attention, but here is the distinction the samurai understood. There is a difference between thinking and rumination. Thinking is purposeful. You identify a problem. You consider solutions. You take action. Rumination is repetitive. You replay the same worry over and over without moving toward a solution. You spin in circles. Shikan teaches you to notice the difference. When a thought shows up, you ask yourself, is this thinking or rumination? Is this helping me solve something, or is this just noise? If it is thinking, you engage with it. If it is rumination, you let it pass. Miyamoto Musashi was one of the greatest swordsmen in Japanese history. He fought over 60 duels and was never defeated. In his final years, he wrote a book called The Book of Five Rings. In it, he said this: think lightly of yourself and deeply of the world. What he meant was stop taking your thoughts so seriously. Your mind is not the center of reality. It is just one small part of a much larger whole. The lotus flower grows in muddy water. It sends roots down into the darkness, but the bloom rises above the surface untouched by the mud. Your calm mind is like the lotus. It does not require perfect conditions. It does not need the mud to disappear. It grows through the mud. Your overthinking is the mud. Your awareness is the lotus. The path forward. So here is the truth in its simplest form. You will never stop overthinking completely. Your brain is designed to think. That is what it does. But you can stop suffering because of overthinking. You can learn to watch your thoughts without drowning in them. You can find stillness not by forcing your mind to be quiet, but by stopping the fight. The next time your mind will not shut off, remember Takeda sitting in the meditation hall. Remember Hana labeling her thoughts. Remember that calmness is not the absence of noise. It is the absence of resistance to noise. The power to have a calm mind does not come from controlling your thoughts. It comes from learning that you do not have to.